going, guys? It's Death Monkey here. Today we're going to be talking about something rather interesting concerning the next season, or potentially what will be the next chapter for Fortnite Battle Royale. Now, we believe at this present moment in time, recently we found out that it could potentially happen as early as next season, so roughly in early December. Now, how do we know this? Now, I'm pretty sure everyone knows more or less about what the storyline involves at this present moment in time, but in case you don't, the Herald, who is the main boss of the island, who we believe is controlling the Chrome, has a rather interesting description in the actual game, which reads, "The Nothing is coming." Now, where we've heard the Nothing before, if you think all the way back to the end event of Chapter 1, there was actually a bunch of numbers that actually appeared, which refers to the scientist's speech before the in-game event happened. And there was a certain quote in that. So if you were to number every single word from 1 to 193, I believe it was, they actually spell out 4 different sentences. Now, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this actually read out, or the last sentence of that read out, "The nothing is now inevitable." Now, this also happens to be the name of the soundtrack which the Herald used in the game as well. So that's really interesting. According to the in-game files, Season 23 would be actually Chapter 3, Season 5, because Chapter 1 was named Athena in the in-game files, Chapter 2 was codenamed Apollo, and Chapter 3, the current island that we're on, is codenamed Artemis. Now, Epic Games have actually made a recent whoopsie on their systems. Now, there was a new map on the server which was called S23 Test Map. Test, do not use. And recently that was changed to S23 Test Asteria. Now, this is a potential codename for Chapter 4. So, it is not the end of the last reality, as we all know it. And back in I think it was one of the quests for belonging to Bites, who is the name of one of the Battle Pass skins, and one of those quests reads, "Rise, new warrior of the last reality." Now, Donald must have first actually mentioned the Nothing in the Black Hole event at the end of Chapter 1, and those numbers, as aforementioned, messaged "Nothing is now inevitable." And the Nothing was also always mentioned at the end of any chapter event. Now, I'm not 100% sure if the Nothing was mentioned in the Chapter 2, the end event, but I'll have to do some further checks on that one. But if you think about the Paradise quests, now after you contact the Paradigm, she actually mentioned, "Stay safe and listen. There will be no second chances here. The Nothing is ... And Jones responded, "Did she say nothing or the nothing? Capital T, capital N." Now, the new skin in the Battle Pass, as aforementioned, called Bites, is actually following orders from the Nothing as part of his challenges in the game. Now, Bites' pickaxe is actually called the Nothing's Gift. Now, we believe at this present moment in time the Nothing are the ones that are controlling the Chrome. So we can assume that the new boss in-game, called the Herald, is a member of that faction, if you will. So that's interesting. During one of the challenges in-game as well, the Nothing actually did mention, when tuning on one of the TVs, "Be always vigilant. When we have need of you, you will be summoned." And this is directed to Bites. And the Nothing will only contact Bites. He doesn't contact or speak to any other skin apart from him. Now, according to Greek mythology, Asteria is actually older than Apollo and Artemis. Now, we believe, according to Greek mythology, Apollo and Artemis were twins. Now, this makes sense if you think about the Chapter 2 island codenamed Apollo, and the Chapter 3 island called Artemis, which we are currently on, are on opposite sides of each other. So that's really interesting. So if you think about it, when the island flipped over, we were on the Chapter 2 island, and when you rotated that on its head, Chapter 3 island. So they're both twins. Now, if you think of also, according to Greek mythology, Asteria turned herself into an island, according to that mythology. So it looks like we're going to be going back in time. And also, to back this up, in the recent comics, with the Geno, member of the Imagined Order, he died in those comics. So, if this is to be believed, there is actually a younger version style of Geno within the concept art, but if you think about it in the comics, he's a lot older. So we believe within the concept art he looked about 16 in terms of age, but if you look in the actual comics he's about 30. So it looks like we're going to have to go back in time in order to sort out this issue with the Chrome. The Herald Skin description, like I say, is called The Nothing Is Coming. The Epitaph Etch Pickaxe description reads The Final Cut Awaits. The Fading Ember Cloak says The Last Flight You'll See. And like I say, the music pack is called The Nothing Is Now Inevitable. So, I want to know what your guys' thoughts are of this. Let me know in the comments box down below. I'm keen to hear what your guys' views and opinions are. Now, I believe we've got a few images from Donald Mustard from a few past tweets that he actually posted. Now, as you guys can see, sealed into the 0 point, ejected into its last landed location, now waiting reality NF 1935, which is what I think is what mentioned Foundation was talking about, so that's interesting, during Batman's return to the island. So he then went to say, everything changes, but later on he said, or nothing. So that was back in October 15, 2021. Also, if you think about all the way back to 4 days later on that, during the Fortnite Wrath of the Cube Queen event, it says only nothing will remain. So nothing, as you guys can see, is capitalized. So clearly it's either mentioning someone's name or the name of a faction. So that's really interesting. These are the two Greek mythological people. So we've got Apollo, which I believe, I'm not exactly sure which way around it is here. So I've got Apollo and Artemis, and these two are both twins. So that makes sense from the code names for each of the maps. And I think this individual, if I'm not mistaken, is that new island we could potentially be referring to, called Asteria. So again, I want to know what your guys' thoughts are. Please let me know in the comments box down below. If anyone else managed to find out anything else interesting about Chapter 4, let me know in the comments. Keep you guys updated here on the channel. If you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button. Don't forget the notification bell on the same more videos. Thumbs up if you're excited. Don't forget to use my support code on the item shop, DeathMonk992, and it's on screen right now in the description. Until the next episode, peace out.